Olá, amigos! Hoje, aqui das montanhas do Capão, no Ocidente, fazendo uma ponte, tal como o arco-íris, para as montanhas dos Himalaias, no Tibete, nesta série. E vamos trazer aqui o Sua Santidade, o Dalai Lama, líder espiritual e representante político do Tibete e dos budistas. Ele, o próprio Dalai Lama, aqui vai nos falar sobre diversos temas do budismo. Hoje, como introdução, teremos Budha, Dharma e Sangha, as três jóias do budismo. Vamos lá.
Whenever I have been given the opportunity to introduce Buddhism, I always make it a point to explain Buddhism in terms of two principles. One is development of a philosophical viewpoint based on the understanding of or appreciation of interdependent nature of reality. And then the second principle is the principle of non-violence, which is the actual action of a Buddhist practitioner and deriving from that view of interdependent nature of reality. So the meaning of non-harming or non-violent behavior or action or conduct is that if possible, one should help others, and if not, at least one should refrain from harming others. That is the essence of the principle of non-violence, non-violent action. So, from a technical sort of to explain these principles in the technical Buddhist language, then you can appreciate that in terms of what in Buddhism is called as taking refuge in the three jewels, Triratna, and what is known as the generation of the altruistic mind or enhancement of one's good heart. As it is very evident that the idea of or the practice of generation of the mind entails committing oneself in an activities that are aimed primarily at helping others. And whereas the practice of taking refuge in the three jewels lays the foundation for the individual practitioner to live a way of life within an ethically disciplined lifestyle, which avoids engaging in actions that are harmful to others, thus by living according to the laws of karma or laws of causality.
So today in the semji nyamne yaojonglia gamdru nyamne mena semji nyamne ayamare.
Therefore, unless the individual practitioner has a good foundational experience or practice of taking refuge in the three jewels, it is not possible to have a high level of realization of bodhicitta or generation of the altruistic mind.
Today in this ane ta gamdru seade ane nangba yin de meng samdi gamdru che.
Therefore, from the Buddhist point of view, the demarcation or the line that distinguishes between a practicing Buddhist and a practicing Buddhist and someone who is not a Buddhist is made on the basis of whether or not the individual has taken refuge in the three jewels.
Jamdo Sidadi, Mijik the Jamdo Tombalami Saru, Jamdo Shivini, Injimiji, Tishu Pension, and Navachavi was with Nikamare. Consul Nalolia, oh, Buddha Dharma Sangha, Ongonet and the Kebjiresha, Sampajik Seminalolia, Teshukunutuna, and Machare.
So when we talk about taking refuge in the three jewels, we should not have the notion that it involves a ceremony where you take the refuge from a master or something like that, and simply by participating in such a ceremony, you become a Buddhist. That's not the point. The point is, if even without a master, if you, as a result of your own reflection, become fully convinced in the validity of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha as the true ultimate object of refuge, and then entrust your spiritual well-being in these objects of refuge, and that's the point when you become a Buddhist. You have taken refuge in the three jewels. Whereas if even though you might have participated in a ceremony, but if there is any doubt in your apprehensions, in your mind about the validity of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha as being ultimate objects of refuge, that very suspicion or doubt sort of rules you out from being a practicing Buddhist. Therefore, for a practicing Buddhist, it is important to understand who these objects of refuge are, or what these objects of refuge are: the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha.
Buddha said, "Mijik shidaba chikaliya, penada shajamani Buddha te jaalia kutam." Ane zabaze ni nyangalan tadenge. Tadi kansa chik chanliya koya membre Buddha's ledu togwe yande chikmene ta sheyare.
So when we speak about Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and when we speak particularly about Buddha, we should not confine our understanding of the term Buddha only to the historical person who came to India, who taught a certain spiritual way of life and so on. Rather, our understanding of the concept of Buddhahood should be based on levels of consciousness or levels of spiritual realization. So it is a spiritual state of being that has to be understood. So therefore, we can, in Buddhist scriptures, we can speak about past Buddhas, Buddhas of the past, Buddhas of the present, and Buddhas of the future. So the question now is to try to develop an understanding. How does a Buddha come into being? How does a fully enlightened being come into being?
Da Buddha says, "Yong da ma yong, si de ma says, "Chokunjo tanda da tore. Chokunjo says yana, kindukunjo yong yare, kindukunjo says yana, da pangjo munjo panya ji yong yana, pangjo henji sabin jo panya ji yong re. Diyo ba yina, ane da jo ba yong re, sangye yong re. So there is song in the zane, that's our chokunjo to yare. Chokunjo is the condition that is shaped.
So when we think about Buddhahood, certainly we will be reflecting upon the question of whether it is possible for an individual to attain such a state or not, or to become a fully enlightened being, to become a Buddha. So here we find that the key really lies in understanding the nature of Dharma. Because if Dharma exists, then certainly Sangha will exist. Sangha members who will have engaged in the path of the Dharma and have realized and actualized Dharma. And if the Sangha members exist, Sangha with the realization of Dharma exist, who have reached stages of levels of spiritual states where they have overcome at least gross levels of negativities and afflictive emotions. If that is possible, then we can envision the possibility of attaining total freedom from these negativities and afflictive emotional states. And that state is the Buddha. So we find here that the key really lies in understanding the nature of Dharma. So when we talk about the Dharma jewel, then here, of course, we are talking about the two dimensions or the two aspects of the Dharma. One is the path that leads to cessation, and one is the cessation itself, cessation of suffering and afflictive emotions.
탐주스럽나 추스럽나 탐주사이다 추군조사이다 여쭤보도와 탐주스럽잖아요 룽그 탐주다 더블 탐주 용도와 다도 추군조 적 뭐만 해야 돼야겠다 안다디 가서 그게 자주면서 시드면서 상담한테 다 대가리가 그래 고랑도 추군조가 상담하고요.
So when we are talking about Dharma here, I think one has to be able to make a distinction between the usage of Dharma as a kind of a generic term, which covers also the scriptural Dharma as well. And this is the generic term is the sublime Dharma, which refers to the Buddha's teaching as well. Whereas when sort of the Buddha's teaching and the realizations that are based on the practice of the scriptural Dharma. But whereas when we are talking about Dharma within the context of the three jewels, we are talking about the Dharma jewel here. Here, Dharma should be understood in terms of cessation, true cessation, or the paths that lead to that cessation. Because it is only on the basis of understanding the true cessation and the paths leading to that cessation, then we can have some concept of arhatship or state of liberation.
Today in this anne, has it the tendering doing beer, tendering the Nalolia, and Su tending the Jung Tonte, Chetons. Su Chetonte, Sangha decision of Tons.
Therefore, in one of the sutras, the sutra known as the Pratita Samuppada Sutra, Buddha stated that whoever perceives the interdependent nature of reality, the dependent origination, the principle of dependent origination, sees the Dharma. And whoever sees the Dharma sees the Buddha, or the Tathagata.
The Su Tenja Devon Tonte, Sondiag, Tenja Devon Taraya, and Mother de She, the Sheshuali, the She, the Shivakalia, Pajita, so and the Umed Luruk, now Luruya said that Shebe, Tawa Dishishin Shuna, has a Quadeshuali.
So when we try to understand. So when we try to understand this statement of the Buddha, the scripture, whereby he states that whoever perceives the interdependent nature of reality perceives the Dharma, and whoever perceives the Dharma perceives the Buddha. If we were to approach this scripture from the perspective of the Nagarjuna's teachings of Madhyamaka school, then one could say that we can arrive at perhaps the most comprehensive understanding of the implications of that statement. So when it comes to talking about the philosophical viewpoints of Nagarjuna, even if people were to criticize me that I'm perhaps biased towards it, I would certainly accept that criticism.
Se inscreva no canal e ative as notificações. Deixe o seu like.